The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Tualatin Valley, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37148. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 closed tow hooks. Moving up onto the face of the bumper on the passenger side, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Just inside of that location on both the passenger and driver side, dual air horns. Moving over to the driver's side face of the front bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. As we move up onto the top of the bumper extension area, you'll find a D-handle gains you access into a hose storage location. And then moving over to the top of the bumper on the driver's side, your swivel discharge. The air inlet is located just underneath the headlight structure for your engine. And as we move up to the outer edge, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. And then just inside that location, you'll find your headlight structure housing high and low beam headlights. High beam is located on the inside. Above that, you have 2 forward-facing emergency warning lights. As we move to the outer edge of the A-pillar, it's where you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving toward the center of the brow area, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight, and then also on the brow itself is where you'll find your identification clearance lights. Located on the passenger side facing downward, you'll find an additional downward-facing mirror. Also under the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. We'll take a couple close-ups of the items we just talked about. First, starting with your bumper extension. Inside the storage location for your front hose load, and then over to the swivel front discharge. Let's take a look at the entire vehicle from the driver's side. We'll focus in on the cab section next, starting first with your front axle, where you'll find a visual sight gauge indicator and Alcoa wheel. Moving to the front bumper extension, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving to the doors, you'll find easily accessible. These are latches that will drop your step down for gaining access into the cab. Right next to the door entry, there are 2 grab handles for gaining entry and exit. To the rear cab wall, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. And then directly over the front axle at the top section, you'll find a side-facing cab scene light. To the rear of the cab wall is where you'll find your water tank level indicator. We'll take a look going to the rear portion, midsection pump. We'll cover that in detail in just a few moments. Let's go to the body section. Just in front of the axle and to the rear of the axle is the folding wheel chock storage location. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, you'll find an additional identification and clearance light on an arm located at the rear. Just in front of the rear axle is where you'll find an identification marker light, and then directly above is where you'll find a lower zone emergency warning light. There are 2 side-facing body scene lights at the very top section, and at the rear, a 360-degree emergency warning light. We'll move around to the rear of the apparatus next, identify a few items within this area, first starting at the very top with an emergency warning light at the top of the cluster, brake, turn, and reverse light. We do have additional discharges located at the rear. There are 2, one located on the driver's side and one located on the passenger side. As we move up to the top sides is where you'll find rear-facing scene lights. And then as we move all the way up to the center section, just below the hosebed area, that's where you'll find your recessed backup camera. In addition, you have additional lower zone rear emergency warning lights. As we move now to the side of the passenger area, pretty close to the same layout. Mainly the exhaust is the different point that you'll see, and we'll cover this in great detail as we move through the apparatus. Same configuration as you have in the cab section. The difference here is you have a side-facing camera and then also your cab tilt. Let's go ahead and move inside the cab from the driver's perspective. The step will auto-deploy for you. Once you gain into the space, let's first start with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information located here. As we move up, you'll find your door lock for electric door locks and then also electric windows. As you move up to the actual lock mechanism, we do have a manual lock and then also a latch. Moving now into the cab area, at the base of the seat is where you'll find your air inlet. You'll also find an indicator indicating that you are charging when plugged into Shoreline power. As we move toward the yellow placard about the right ankle of the operator, we'll go into great detail on this next. First, let's take a look at some close-ups, air inlet, and Shoreline power. As we move back to the placard, first I'd like to start at the top with the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation are on this placard. In addition, you'll have your VIN number and all of your fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and also fluid type. As we move to the floor area, you'll find a mechanical siren foot pedal. And then as we move upward from this location, you'll find your master battery switch and then all of your advanced technology information for your service center just below the master battery switch. As we move to the left, we'll find a set of switches here for your headlights, start ignition, dim switch. I have a close-up of that in just a moment. Let's move through the dash cluster where you'll find your transmission, oil, def level, fuel, front air, and rear air gauges on the lower section. As we move up to the top, you'll find water, tachometer, speedometer, and then also volts. As we move up to the very top section, you'll find this yellow placard indicating the height of the vehicle, 10 feet 6, length 31 feet 7, gross vehicle weight rating 49,800 pounds. Back to the left side, this is the panel dim switch allowing you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. We have a backup alarm cancel, load manager, OK to engage the high idle switch, air dump for the rear of the suspension, and then also a perimeter light. General view just to the right of the operator. We'll move through these items next. First, starting at the front section with your air conditioning, defrost, and heat control module. Just down from that, we have an engine brake on and off, a setting switch for that engine brake for low, medium, and high, off-road traction, mirror heat, DPF regen, and DPF regen inhibit. Let's move down to the next set of switches just below this. These are going to be your window controls. We have the driver's window, passenger window, driver's cab window, and then passenger cab window. There are also two future switch locations just to the right of the rocker switches if they are needed for additional switching. As we move down, you'll find the Pierce Command Zone, tremendous amount of information right here at your fingertips, touchscreen and function buttons also. Pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release, it's the yellow diamond. We also have a disengage when on wet or slippery surface with your retarder. As we move to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad with an informational note to drive or to pump in drive, and also your pump shift. There are instructions for its operation from road to pump, and then also from pump to road. Just as a reminder, for engaging your pump, you need two green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump, illuminating before exiting the cab for pump operations. Moving to the right, you'll find the flat mirror and convex mirror controls right in front of your cup holder. As we look overhead of the operator, we do have a couple switches up here. Let's take a quick look. First, let's start with your emergency lights. We have emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, a siren brake for your mechanical siren, that's the red switch, and then also lower rear warning, upper rear warning, and opticom. Moving just to the right to the next set of switches, you'll find your white light cancel, an air horn switch, high beam flash, fog lights, and then also front flood, driver's flood, passenger flood, and rear flood. Let's look toward the roof line of the apparatus where you'll find your lanyards for your air horn. You'll also find in this area in the very front center section, this is your do not move your apparatus when the light is flashing. You may have a compartment or door open. Also just forward of this location, seatbelt information. Red, someone is in the seat and not belted. Green, they are in the seat and belted. As we move behind the driver's seat when plugged into Shoreline power,
This, along with your inverter, will energize this outlet. You do have a backup camera with audible. The volume control is on the face of the speaker. And then just to the right, you'll find your manual cab lift tilt arm. As we move to the seat area, this is at the base of the seat. This is your Shoreline inlet, 30 amp. And then also you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Let's move back to the front axle. Once again, we have Michelin tires, Alcoa wheel, and a visual sight gauge for that front axle. We're now into the rear section of the cab area. Let's go ahead and take a look in this area first. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, window control, and door lock and latch. You'll also find, once again, when the door is open, the steps will auto deploy. As we look inside, we have 4 seats in the rear, 2 rear facing and 2 forward facing on the outer edges. In the center, we do have on both front and rear additional compartments. Within those compartments, we have netting for protection of the items within that area. And then also we have LED lighting inside those compartments with individual switching. As we move to the rear, you'll find an additional storage location and then also a refrigerator. On top of the rear section, you'll find 12-volt access for those individuals seated in the rear. Air conditioning and heat also within the vehicle. As we move through these compartment photos, adjustable shelves and LED lighting. Let's go ahead and move to the exterior now. We'll start first with the pump panel area at the very top on the left, which is your backboard storage location within inside this compartment. D-handle gains you access. As we look to the pump panel itself, we'll start in the gray area with your master intake on the left-hand side. Moving to the right, you'll find the master discharge gauge. In between the two of those are the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They're currently plugged and are utilized for testing purposes. As we move to the right, you'll find your engine information zone. This gray area houses information regarding your fuel, volts, oil pressure, and water temp, along with a tachometer. There are also tally lights within this area for stop engine, check engine, low fuel, and high temp. You'll also find a barrel style speaker. The outer edge of that barrel does rotate to allow you to dampen sound. We do have a pump overheat indicator and audible alarm also. As we move down to the color-coded discharges, we'll start on the left with your yellow deluge. And as we move to the right, we've got a switch panel here for panel lights and an indicator for OK to pump, in addition with side scene lights. I would like to point out at the very bottom, we do have a red switch. This is for your DEF inhibit switch, and then also a DEF regen inhibit active indicator. As we move to the right, you'll find the blue module. This is your water tank level indicator. And further to the right, you'll find your pump boss pressure throttle governor. Just below that, you'll also find an audible alarm, same design. The outer edge of the bezel does rotate. To the right, you're going to find your engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. And then as we move down to the very bottom, you'll find the Pierce placard indicating for your minimum operation maintenance schedule and test pressures. We'll go over that in just a few moments. Moving further down on the pump panel, we have color-coded and labeled discharges, in addition with a map of the apparatus as to where those discharges are located. As a warning, pressure hazard, caps may be under pressure, be cautious when opening them. As we move to the right, you'll find a red push button for your air horn, and then moving further to the right, you'll find your fire pump primer, push to prime air, 1000 RPMs for best practices. As we move to the right, you'll find the tank fill and recirculating line. Just below that is your tank to pump. Also, we've got a warning placard here indicating warning fall hazard. When climbing on or off the vehicle, always face the vehicle. Let's move down to the lower left. We have an additional warning placard here, once again regarding pressure hazard. Moving further to the right, you'll find your main inlet for your pump. And then to the right, you'll find the wattress placard indicating the type and GPM of your pump. Let's move down to the next set of panels, where you'll find a warning placard here indicating only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after proper training. Just below that, the driver's side auxiliary inlet, locally controlled ball valve, 2.5-inch female inlet, and also a garden hose outlet. To the right, all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains, including an air supply and also air outlet. Moving down, once again, the minimum operation maintenance schedule placard. As we move further down, you'll find your main pump drain, and then further to the right, you'll find the manual pump shift. Let's move further down on the panel here where you'll find the front discharge. This is a drain for that front discharge. Also, as we look to the compartment next to the pump panel, we'll start in the very top section of that area in that compartment. But let's go back to those placards first. You have a 1,500 GPM pump, Watrous pump. Also, minimum operation maintenance schedule for test pressures at 150, 200, and 250 PSI. Associated GPMs located on the left, and the associated RPM at test pressure on the right. Governed speed, this is 2,100 RPMs. That's while you're in pump mode. As we moved inside that compartment, you'll find a shoreline outlet and then also S1, which stands for shoreline power. These are the individual breakers for those items listed on that placard. As we move down, we also have 12-volt access via barrel style and USB. Moving just to the very bottom section, adjustable shelves and a pull-out tray. The release mechanism for that tray located on the right-hand side, it will lock into position. Over the rear axle, we have SCBA bottle storage for up to 3 SCBA bottles, in addition with a tool board located here. We have a release mechanism on the hinge side. DuraSurf material to protect the air bottles, and then also retaining straps. Michelin tires, once again, Alcoa wheel. As we move in the upper portion behind the rear axle, this is your ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. As we move the flap downward, it will expose the blue cap, which is the DEF fill location, which is a 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. General view into the next rear compartment. It's easy to point out in here, we also have a ventilation system throughout the vehicle and a timer. Pull-out tray in the very bottom, release located on the lower right. All compartments now open. We'll go ahead and take a look at the next set of images of the rear of the apparatus. We identified a few items within this area already, but we'll start in with a little bit more detail. We do have fold-down steps located here for gaining access to go aloft, and also a cupped switch here for your rear scene lights. Let's go ahead and take a look. We have some warning placards regarding fall hazard, never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. And also, once again, a pressure hazard, caps may be under pressure, be cautious when opening them. And then an additional warning, fall. When climbing on or off the vehicle, always face the vehicle. As we move to the right, a warning because of the hose bed, we have an entanglement hazard. As we move to the very bottom section, when this door is open, this is a not step location. Just as a reminder, we have this placard indicating that it is a non-stepping surface. As we move to the right, you'll find an additional 2.5-inch discharge to the rear, and once again, a pressure hazard warning. There are 3 movable hose bed dividers located here on your apparatus, and also a rigid cover. As we move around to the passenger side, all compartments are currently open. Let's go ahead and get started at the rear and work our way toward the front. Adjustable shelving, LED lighting, dry deck material, and also that ventilation system that we previously mentioned. Shoreline outlet located here. When plugged into Shoreline, this outlet becomes active. Let's move through the next set of compartments here, just over the rear axle area. First, let's start with an additional fuel location on the passenger side, silver cap, ultra low sulfur diesel fill. As we move just up from this location, this is your equipment power rack hydraulic reservoir. Then as we move forward of this location into the compartment itself, you'll find your timer. This is for when plugged into Shoreline power, the timer will turn on and activate the ventilation system throughout the compartments and spaces. As we move to the forward section of the axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage, retaining straps, and DuraSurf material. Just as a reminder, diesel exhaust temperatures are extremely hot. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. As we move to the next forward compartment on the vertical surface, you'll find an inverter located recessed in this compartment. Additional 12-volt access via barrel style and also USB. I've got a close-up of the ventilation system and also an outlet here. This is once again shoreline power. And we'll go ahead and take a look at the pump panel area since we have everything open and exposed. We'll start at the very top section, that through compartment we've seen before on the driver's side. And then as we move into the compartments, we'll start here with your powered equipment rack access. Down in the lower section, we have your large diameter pump inlet. And then right next to that, large diameter discharge on the passenger side. And an additional 2.5 inch also on the passenger side. As we move down to the very bottom, you'll find the auxiliary inlet, locally controlled ball valve, female, 2.5 inch in size. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of those compartments at the top. In this pan door, you'll find on the very left-hand side the hand operation for your hydraulic rack. There are instructions on its placard to retrieve that handle that's behind the driver's seat. Also, you have your powered equipment rack via the regular methodology of using it electrically. We do have a warning here regarding fall, and then also a warning regarding pressure hazard. This is the large diameter passenger side, and then the 2.5 inch discharge. All of our color-coded labeled discharge drains located in the lower section. We do have a removable hose storage location here with dry deck material. Let's go ahead and move now into the cab area, starting at the very rear. As we move into the cab, just as a reminder, safety warning placard affixed to the door panel. We also have a grab handle. As we move inside the cab area, let's identify a few items within this area. 2 seats located on this side. Once again, full cab of 4 seats at the rear, additional compartments inside, air conditioning in the center, push on and off white or red lens lights at the ceiling level. Heaters located in the lower section with controls on the face of that lower section. As we move around to the front axle, once again, Michelin tires, Alcoa wheel, visual sight gauge. We're now into the officer space. Let's go ahead and move inside the cab area. First, starting with the door panel, a fixed door panel, safety and warning placard information, electric door locks, and also electric window control. As we open the door, you'll find the step will once again auto deploy. As we move inside the cab area, let's identify a few items, starting first at the floor level, where you'll find a mechanical siren foot pedal close to the A-pillar. As we move to the base of the seat, you have an additional storage location here. And as we move toward the center console area, as we look to the driver's side, this is the access location for all your electrical fuses. As we move to the right side, this flap here is for your daily checks for oil and transmission. You also have a vehicle data recording port located in the very front section. Access here for your daily checks, oil and transmission. There is also right next to that a shoreline outlet. This will become active when shoreline has been plugged in. This is your vehicle data recording port. The Haas system is located on the forward section of the dash. This is your collision avoidance information center. As we move overhead of the officer seat, you're going to find on the far left-hand side your control module for your siren and PA speaker. You'll also find those red candy cane style information placards. Those are indicating spare wiring. We're now to the front bumper where you'll find your cab lift or instructions for its operation for raise and lower. As we move around to your ladder rack, you'll find a 24-foot extension ladder and a 14-foot roof. At the very top section, you'll find a 10-foot folding attic ladder, and there are 2 tubes located here for long-handled tool storage. Let's go ahead and go up onto the top of the vehicle, identify a few items here. You do have a closed hose bed cover, which can handle the weight of a firefighter. Also, as we look to the rear, these are those movable dividers. They are also V'd out so that you can reach in between because of the height of those dividers. As we move toward the forward section, you have additional storage. The yellow diamonds are indicating the edge of the walking surface for your firefighter safety. As we move to the forward dunnage, the dunnage area is enclosed. We do have top fill location for your water tank. As we move into the dunnage itself, you'll find additional storage location here. Master stream device located in the center with top valve control. Then let's go ahead and move toward the front of the vehicle where you'll find your cab section. This is considered a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these additional warning placards indicating that. As we move through the next set of images, these are going to be of the cab tilted into the engine area and also upper and lower chassis area. We'll point out a few items within these areas also. Your vehicle is equipped with a TAC4 independent front suspension for ride quality. It's located here. You can see the torsion bar coming off the front section. As we look into the battery area, we're now on the driver's side. You'll find the negative and positive termination points located here. As we move to the bottom section, you'll find the fill location for your hydraulic fluid for the 2 cylinders for cab lift. Just as a reminder, when utilizing the cab lift, engage the cab lift until it fully stops out at the very top section with equal pressure on both hydraulic cylinders. The safety will lock into position or drop into position. Once it's in position, do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. Please maintain equal pressure on both the right and left cylinder. This will conclude the additional photos here of the engine and chassis area. We do have a short video with your emergency warning lights activated. Congratulations, Tualatin Valley Fire and Rescue, Oregon, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 37148. If you have any questions, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.